You ever get so bored that you end up looking through your Steam library and find a game you apparently own but don't remember why or how? I know, imagine being so bored that you look through your Steam library, God forbid. But that's how I found out I own this game called Wandersong. Like I said, I don't remember why I bought it, or even when, though realistically speaking it was probably a Steam summer sale, but I'm glad that I did buy it because now it's one of my favorite games ever. Wandersong has you playing as a bard named, well, you can technically name them a bunch of different things, but I went with Bart. Bart the Bard. I'm a simple man. You find out that the world is ending, as it does every few million years when the overseers, who are sort of like the demigods of this universe, get tired of doing their jobs. They let chaos run rampant throughout the world out of pure boredom and neglect their jobs, which were upholding peace and happiness throughout the universe. To stop the world from ending, you need to learn the Earth Song, which is split into 7 parts, each part being taught to you by one of the overseers. But in order to even get to the spirit world where the overseers are, you need to learn each of the overseer songs. So, early on the game takes a simple structure. 1. Help people until they teach you the overseer song. 2. Wander through the spirit world until you find the overseer. And 3. Learn their part of the Earth Song and then go to the next world. In Act 3 though, instead of learning the Earth Song piece, the overseer is almost immediately killed by someone who claims to be the real hero of the story, Audrey. She tells you that the same fairy that gave you your mission to learn the Earth Song also gave her a mission to kill all the overseers. Apparently, the Earth Song has never worked in any of the previous universes to exist before yours, meaning it probably won't work this time either. So, Audrey's been brought in to kill the overseers and just end the universe preemptively before things get super bad. You're basically shoved out of the hero role in the story and go from the protagonist to a side character. Not even that, a side character that's now out of a job. This twist sets up the game's real story though, which isn't about saving the world through high fives and hugs, but the different sides of optimism, cynicism, and identity struggles that we don't usually see in stories like this. The Bard is meant to be optimism incarnate throughout the first 3 acts of the game. He's always happy, looking to make friends, and wants to solve every issue peacefully rather than through violence. After he learns the truth about Audrey being the hero of the world and that he was sent on a fool's errand, we see him in a completely different state though. He just wants to be left alone. He feels both helpless and without purpose, since not only is the world ending in a few days, but he was lied to about being able to stop it from happening. Now he knows that he has no say in what happens and feels pathetic for being made a fool of not only by Audrey, but by the one who sent him on this mission in the first place. It's interesting to see a character so optimistic and pleasant suddenly fall into a rut of helplessness and apathy because, well, I mean, how often do we even see that? The game shows the reality of being an optimist, which is that you're not always optimistic. At some point, life's gonna slap you with a piece of news that just brings you down, and it can be hard to get back up from that. We've all had it happen to us. Whether it's applying for a job or a school you really want to be accepted to, or working on a project that you're excited to show the world, or in this case, trying to save the world and being told you can't. Though I'm sure the first 2 scenarios are much more relatable. But in any of those situations, you have such high hopes that things will go your way, which only makes it hit harder when you hear, sorry, we've filled the position, or sorry, your grades just weren't high enough, or in the Bard's case, sorry, you can't save the world, so you may as well not try. Interestingly, Miriam, the witch who accompanies you on your journey, has quite a different experience. She goes from being a cynical person that acts as if she's above everyone around her to someone who wants to open up but has too much trouble doing it. Around Act 4, she and the Bard start to have these awkward moments of honesty where she wants to admit to him that she cares for him and she isn't actually the sarcastic, cynical, witty comeback machine that she comes off as. It's just that she's super socially awkward and has trouble expressing her emotions. But even when she tries doing that, her social awkwardness kicks in again, making it hard to admit that she has trouble admitting how she feels. She's not inherently rude or a jerk, it's just that she feels vulnerable opening up to people, and really, who wants to feel vulnerable? Ever. It sucks for everyone. I mean, everybody has a weak spot, it just so happens that Miriam's is expressing her emotions. What I love about the Bard and Miriam's arcs is that they show how the world isn't black and white. You can't go through the world making the best out of everything, expecting to never be brought down. That doesn't work. But neither does poking holes in everyone's feelings as a way to mask your own. Both the Bard and Miriam end up realizing that if they're going to want to truly grow as people, and save the world, I guess, then they need to accept that sometimes they're going to feel stuff that they don't want to feel. Whether it's sadness, rejection, and loneliness, or vulnerability, discomfort, and weakness. This is why I love Wandersong. It takes these character tropes involving optimism and pessimism, then asks, what would they look like if the setbacks in the story actually affected the characters, like they would a real person? And by the end of the story, the Bard and Miriam are still the same people. The Bard is still happy about most things in life, while Miriam still feels awkward even acknowledging their friendship. But that's the thing. She does acknowledge their friendship, and the bard knows now that happiness and peace are great things, but they won't always get someone to change their ways. Which brings me to Audrey, the quote-unquote real hero. After the bard and Miriam find out that their way isn't supposed to work, you run into Audrey a few more times until one specific confrontation has you caved in under a bunch of rocks with her. By the way, by this point, she's killed every other overseer that you've tried to get the song from, and she's even severely injured Miriam, someone you've gotten way closer to than at the beginning of the story, forcing her to head back home and leave you alone. The point is, you're not supposed to like her, and I definitely didn't by that point, and I don't now. I was hoping that the cave-in was going to be some excuse to finally get into a fight with her or verbally school her on why everything she's done has sucked so much. Instead, Audrey opens up to the bard about how being the hero is the only identity she's ever had that mattered, and she can't fail on her mission because of that. Which, when I thought about it, was pretty understandable. Imagine for just a moment that if for your whole life, you believed you had no worth whatsoever, that you were a nobody, just a meaningless speck of dust in the universe. You would probably be very happy that you finally found your calling, yes, but also very anxious and terrified of the idea that it could be ripped away from you at any moment. That you would fail as the hero and spend your last moments on Earth feeling worse than you ever did before, knowing that you couldn't even live up to the one expectation anyone ever had for you in life. Unlike the bard and Miriam, who end up learning from their experiences and grow as characters though, Audrey's too afraid to let go, which I found even more interesting. Even though she knows that there's a way to save the world without hurting anyone, she sees listening to others as a weakness. She truly believes deep down that she has nothing in life to care for but this one quest. At no point in the story does she ever really let go of the idea that there's only one right way to go about this, and that if she does it any other way, then she's failed and goes back to being a nobody. Even that, right there, being a nobody. The bard and Miriam both have moments in their stories where they accept being a nobody, because that's all most people really get to be. Relatively speaking, I mean. What I mean is, there's no such thing as a hero that single-handedly saves the world, or a perfect person who makes no mistakes that everyone loves. By the end of the story, they both learn to understand and accept that. Audrey, however, completely rejects that idea for her own emotional comfort. She is so afraid of the feeling that she's felt her whole life, which is that she isn't any more important than the next speck of dust in the universe. That when she was given a chance to be something more, regardless of if she liked the person she would become or not, she couldn't do it. There were definitely moments, a lot of moments, where I hated Audrey. Where I wanted to get revenge for what she had done and make sure that she failed, even if it meant hurting her. She's such an annoying character throughout the whole game, always cocky, never considerate, and never accepting of anyone's ideas except her own. So, yeah, I understand how most people could play this game and hate Audrey by the end of it. She definitely isn't meant to be likable, at all. But I also think there's more to her than just being a villain. Her story's pretty sad too, and while many people would like to think that they're above being like Audrey, I would wager to say that there's a lot of people in the world who would act just like her in a similar situation. Audrey never gets her redemption arc, or gives in to the idea that being a nobody is the norm rather than an exceptionally bad thing. She slays the last overseer, completing her quest, and that's the last we see of her. Though, obviously, the game doesn't just end like that. The bard starts singing in a last-ditch effort to save the world, only for everyone he's encountered and helped on his journey to start singing alongside him. Which is what the Earth Song is supposed to be, the world singing in harmony. The world is saved and the game ends on a happy note. Yay. As I say this, I realize there's so much more to discuss about this game. You could look at the symbolism involving the Earth Song, or the gameplay mechanics and how they involve the sound design, or how Audrey thinking she's helping people when really she's hurting them is a metaphor for, politics? But what I love about this game, what stood out to me above all else, was the characterization. How the bard and Miriam, two characters that I definitely would have gotten bored of if they never changed, show new sides of personalities often used and simplified in the media. And how Audrey is written as the complete opposite and refuses to change, but it's made into a part of her own story. Wandersong is a great game I'd recommend to almost anyone. Yeah, for the fun gameplay obviously, but also for the writing and character development that managed to take what a lot of other games do for quick laughs and convenience and turn it into something charming and real.